In June 2024, after the 50-year petrodollar agreement between Saudi Arabia and the United States expired, Saudi Arabia decided not to renew it. This decision allows Saudi Arabia to sell oil more flexibly in multiple currencies, including RMB, Euro and Yen. At the same time, at this year's Saudi Future Aviation Forum, Saudi Arabia explicitly invited China to cooperate and proposed to establish a production line for C919 passenger aircraft in Saudi Arabia. In order to promote this cooperation project, the relevant Saudi authorities have stated that they will provide full support for COMAC to carry out manufacturing business in Saudi Arabia. This seems to mean that Saudi Arabia is moving away from the United States and moving closer to China. So, if China successfully establishes a C919 production line in Saudi Arabia, what benefits will Saudi Arabia gain from it? As of 2023, the number of orders for China's C919 has climbed to more than 1,300, and these orders come from many companies in 40 countries and regions around the world. More strikingly, General Electric Commercial Aviation of the United States has also booked 20 C919s, which is undoubtedly a great recognition of its reliability and performance. But the production activities of C919 are mainly concentrated on a production line in Pudong, Shanghai. Although this centralized production model brings high efficiency, it also brings huge challenges in supply chain management, quality control and talent training. As far as I know, COMAC can only deliver 5 C919s per year. Imagine that if the current production speed is used to cope with the accumulated 1,400 orders, COMAC will need 300 years to complete all deliveries. For airlines waiting for the aircraft, this is obviously an unacceptable time span. In this case, COMAC plans to start the site selection and construction of the second production base. In May this year, Saudi Arabia held a Future Aviation Forum in Riyadh, which attracted more than 5,000 aviation experts and practitioners from more than 120 countries around the world, including China. At the forum, China promoted the C919 and ARJ-21 regional aircraft to the Middle East market and demonstrated the highly automated C919 production line. This attracted Saudi Arabian Airlines, so Saudi Arabian Airlines invited COMAC to establish a production assembly line in Jeddah to jointly promote the development of Saudi Arabia's domestic aviation industry chain. Shortly after the forum, Saudi Airlines and COMAC had detailed discussions and exchanges on the performance, technical specifications, and delivery time of the C919 jet. Although COMAC has not yet made a final decision, their positive statements at the meeting have fully demonstrated their attention to the Saudi market and their commitment to the development of the global aviation network. COMAC said, "We hope to enhance global connectivity and diversity by helping Saudi Arabia's air transportation development." This statement not only highlights COMAC's international development strategy, but also demonstrates their determination to seek broader cooperation and influence in the global aviation industry. So why did Saudi Arabia invite COMAC to establish an assembly line in Jeddah? In 2016, Saudi Arabia launched the Vision 2030 plan, which aims to reduce dependence on fossil fuels, promote the development of the private sector, and diversify the economy. To implement this grand blueprint, China has provided technical and financial support for a number of key projects, including the Red Sea New City, the commercial port of Jizan Economic City, the Haramain High-Speed Railway, the City of the Future, and new energy projects. Based on these extensive cooperation, Saudi Arabia hopes to further strengthen cooperation with China in the field of aviation manufacturing. The introduction of COMAC's technology and experience will not only accelerate the development of Saudi Arabia's local aviation industry, but also better integrate into the global aviation manufacturing network. This cooperation will help Saudi Arabia achieve its strategic goals of Vision 2030. In addition, as one of China's largest trading partners in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia enjoys many cooperation advantages. This is evident from Saudi Arabian Airlines Group's new facility in Jeddah. Covering an area of approximately 1 million square meters, the facility will not only undertake maintenance, repair and overhaul work for aircraft, but will also support the manufacturing operations of global aerospace companies upon completion in 2025. So, what benefits can they gain from the success of the Saudi plan? Previously, the CEO of ACP made it clear that China, as one of the key markets, would jointly open new routes with one of the world's largest airlines. This will not only strengthen the integration of Saudi Arabia into the global aviation network, but also promote in-depth cooperation between China and Saudi Arabia in the aviation field. The aerospace industry is a complex and multidisciplinary field with extremely high requirements for skills and expertise. In recent years, Saudi Arabian Airlines' brand value has increased significantly, its global brand ranking has risen 6 places, and it has been named one of the fastest-growing aviation brands in the world by Brand Finance. If China establishes a C919 aircraft production line in Saudi Arabia, it is expected to increase the annual production of C919 to 100. This will not only help Saudi Arabia establish a solid business foundation in the aviation market, but also promote the prosperity of the aviation transportation industry, drive economic growth, create a large number of jobs, and promote industrial upgrading and technology transfer. In the future, with the successful development of China's C919 aircraft, this advanced aircraft will not only be promoted in the Middle East, but it is also likely to establish a new production line in the region. This will not only enable Saudi Arabia to achieve economic diversification, but will also accelerate the development of the aviation industry. Unfortunately, Saudi Arabia's idea of inviting China to establish a second C919 production base was opposed by the United States before it was implemented. What's going on? To discuss this issue, we have to mention the 50-year petrodollar agreement between Saudi Arabia and the United States. Since the creation of this agreement, it has established the core position of the US dollar in global oil trade. But after the agreement expired in June 2024, Saudi Arabia decided not to renew it. This means Saudi Arabia will have more flexibility to sell oil in multiple currencies, including yuan, euros, and yen. It is worth mentioning that in 2023, the trade volume between Saudi Arabia and China will reach $80 billion, of which the proportion of settlement using RMB will increase significantly. Therefore, if Saudi Arabia cooperates with China in the aviation field, it will further promote the use of the renminbi in international trade, thus threatening the core position of the US dollar. On the other hand, the United States has long maintained its global hegemony through economic sanctions and other means. However, cooperation between Saudi Arabia and China in the aviation field will allow Saudi Arabia to more flexibly circumvent U.S. economic sanctions and blockades, thereby threatening the United States' global hegemony. More importantly, the United States has always regarded the Middle East as an important fulcrum of its global strategy. As an important economic and geopolitical force in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia's cooperation with China will undoubtedly change the political and economic structure of the Middle East. The United States is worried that this change will weaken its influence in the Middle East, and naturally does not want to see this happen.